see there, like in particularly the first instance, Henry could have taken a shot but gave it to Owen Larkin and a point. They're guaranteeing the scores, and by passing the ball they're shooting and they're under no pressure when they're shooting, whereas other teams tend to be shooting under pressure, and their hit rate isn't as good as Kilkenny's.
Right, now on the live game and the coverage today, there was praise from one or two of the panel for Galway tactics. You didn't agree?
Yeah, we like Kilkenny.
At half time.
Yeah, Kilkenny obviously played with the wind in the first half. Went for the juggler. Like Galway obviously had a plan, putting Damien Hayes full forward to bring out the half forward line, but JJ Delaney and Tommy Welch picked up a mountain of ball today, uncontested, and had plenty of time then to set up attacks. The Galway clearances were struck under pressure, I suppose you could argue, but it was just a springboard, one after another, for Kilkenny to come down the field under no pressure.
Yeah, well, like, the way Kilkenny set up, in my opinion, is there's 6 backs playing their positions, there's 6 forwards playing their positions, and they let the 2 midfielders cover the ground then to support them. And you'll see Michael Rice and Michael Fennelly covering huge area space. But JJ Delaney today and Tommy Walsh looked like there was no one on them, and that was the game plan. Was for Galway was to move out the field, try to support, their own, to make room for the full forward line inside. But Kilkenny don't buy that, and their forwards work so hard off the ball in closing down the spaces. It made it ineffective for Galway.
Michael, and like they had the assistance of the strong wind in the second half, sharp puckouts. They were being beaten in midfield, hands down all day long, and they decided to try drill the ball into the midfield, and they paid the price there with that one. But generally, I think Kilkenny forced you to turn over the ball, but today they didn't have to, because the Galway half forward line just left them free and easy. And
Diarmuid, it's the quality of ball those men deliver as well, which adds to the pain for Galway.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard enough to keep the ball away from the likes of JJ and Tommy and these fellas, but to give it straight back to them in the instance Galway did today, it's criminal to win a game of hurling. You can't afford to do that. And they're sharp guys. If they see a man in a better position, they'll give him the ball in a better position, because that's what hurling is about.
I also think so. Sometimes you look at Tommy Walsh, they're not that particular sometimes where they're hitting it. Their job is to win possession and get it up the field, and the forwards in Kilkenny
fight. The next man win it.
Well, they fight for their own ball. There's no whinging out of them about it's not low or it's not this. Whatever way the ball comes, to go for it and they fight for it. And they're an awesome team, and they're just going to take some beating.
But doesn't it come back to everyone is trying to work out a tactic that can beat Kilkenny, and no one has come up with it now for 5 years?
And they won't either, Des, for a while.
Well,
no.
You saw nothing today to say?
No, absolutely not. Even today would reinforce the position that they hold at the moment. Like
Diarmuid?
Yeah, it's very, very hard. Galway did themselves no favours bringing out, Hayes around the middle of the field. It's criminal. I think if you have to take them on, you have to take them on man to man, 1-to-1. So be it. If you have to fight for a dirty ball, you fight for it. If you get a good ball, you get a good ball. But it's the dirty ones really that are the key.
Michael, you're seeing Galway hurling now down at Portumna. Can Galway make a big impact after a day like today?
Well, it's going to be tough on them. They have to regroup. They were beaten by 7 points on the scoreboard, but in reality there was a lot more than that. And Kilkenny did miss a lot of chances, and they really overpowered them in a lot of positions. Joe Canning, obviously in Portumna, he'll admit today that didn't have a good game, but by any standards, by his huge standards. But I think, I've said it many times, you need to put him into position and leave him there and utilise him. He was played wing corner forward today, wing forward, centre forward, full forward, back out again. And it's very hard for any player. He's only 21 years of age at the end of the day. Your confidence has to start taking a battering, and I think they need to settle him, and I'd have him taking the frees as well. Henry Shefflin was out for 9 months with a knee injury. The first day he came back playing for Kilkenny, he was back on the frees. Richie Power never missed a free, I think, while he was away. But you have leaders on your team and main men, and I think they need to build around Joe Canning.
All right, there's a point emerging I'd like to get all your views on. And should there be cause for concern about the amount of pulling of the face masks on helmets?
Well, it's coming into the game. There's obviously everyone's wearing them now, so the opportunity is there. In our day there wasn't face masks really.
Let's have a look at it. There was a couple of incidents from the weekend.
Okay, today a long ball, Eddie Brendan, Ollie Canning have a tussle. Eddie is booked for a bit of a low pull, but Ollie takes exception to it. They have a bit of a scuffle, but the first thing, if you grab the helmet, you're in control of the situation, really. That's what players are thinking. But it's very dangerous. You can see, even yesterday, a cut ear, but is the yellow card enough? I think this has to be stamped out, because it's going to filter its way down to underage, and it's a serious issue. But a yellow card, in my opinion, isn't enough to stop it.
We saw it yesterday, as Paul said, in the Wexford Tip game, Michael.
Yeah, well, I thought yesterday to start the game it looked terrible. You'll see there, Steve Banville went to shake hands, Fanny walked into him, Banville pulled the stroke on him, and then they start pulling at each other's heads. If you saw 10-year-olds at this, you'd be disgusted with them. But I think, like, for kids looking in, this looks terrible. Like, the helmets are there to be, you have to have respect. Part of hurling over the years, there's things you don't do. You don't pull across the fella's head. That was what we were all taught. We all, any of us sitting around here, we all pulled the odd stroke, maybe some more.
You did anyway, yeah.
Well, maybe some more than others, but you know, you do things sometimes you're not proud of, and you make mistakes. But something like that, like, it's, to me, it's childish, it's cowardly, and you know, I think Declan Fanning ended up with a good few stitches yesterday after that incident, and you know, it needs to be stamped out. I think players in hurling have to have respect. But just on a bigger issue with the helmets, I think it's encouraging an awful lot of heavy tackling as well, because fellas seem to think because a fella has a helmet, you're not going to hurt him as bad. But I think some of the head-on injuries, you know, you're going to get lads with concussion, with whiplash, with everything, and it's not part of, it was never part of hurling. I don't like to see it.
Diarmuid, you didn't want to wear a helmet, isn't that right?
Yeah, I was an advocate for, you know, for the against the wearing the helmet, but you know, probably in the overall scheme of things, you know, it was the right way to go down for players. But I think, as Paul mentioned, it's becoming an easy target. You know, you get in a bit of a scuffle with a fella there, you know, you can get control of the situation by grabbing him. You know, once you get in control, you know, it's yours really. But, you know... So are you in favour then? Are you all in favour of stamp it out early on? Oh, well, look, you have to set down rules. I think the yellow card thing, I disagree with Paul on it. You know, a yellow card, you see fellas getting a lot worse for pulling a helmet. All right, you know, there has to be a level at which has to be controlled. How you control it, I don't know how you can do it really. All right. Let's move on to the man of the match nominees for today, Michael. Who are the three nominees? Yeah,
the first man we looked at was Jackie Terrell. You know, he's been absolutely outstanding for Kilkenny over the last 7 or 8 years, but he was brilliant again today, cleared an awful lot of ball. No matter who came in on him, he was in full command. JJ Delaney, again, you know, consistently over his career, he's been brilliant for Kilkenny in all the big days. And Tommy Walsh, again, on the right half. You said the same thing about Tommy, he's been outstanding. Yeah. It was a huge choice, I suppose, to pick from. And Michael Rice had a great game. He didn't even get into the tree.
Kilkenny, you know? Right. Absolutely. And who gets the award then, Paul?
We chose Tommy Walsh. I suppose every day he goes out now, it's a man of the match performance. An all-star in the forwards, in midfield and in the backs. Like against Dublin the last day and again today, I'd say he made a world record of strikes. It's phenomenal. Yeah. His positioning is incredible. Teams are trying different things to kind of drag him out and even get his temper up, but you know, phenomenal player.
You a fan of Tommy's, Diarmuid?
Des, you'd have to be, you know, but one thing I like about him, you know, all right, he might take his yellow card, but you know, it's kind of a necessary thing for him at this stage. You know, I get my yellow card, I settle into the game of hurling. But you know, it's his willingness to go after the dirty ball, to cover his teammates, to get around the field. You know, he's always there to support, he's always there to pick up the break, he's always in the full back line. There was a couple of incidents today, ball broken behind. Who was the first guy there? Tommy Walsh, covering unselfish yards, getting back, covering the ground for his teammates.
All right, well, let's hear from him then. He spoke to Joanne after the match today.
Seamus Hallen, the Leinster Council Chairman, is going to present Tommy with his award.
Well done, Tommy. Seamus. Thank you.
Well done, Tommy. How good a performance was that from Kilkenny today?
I don't know, it was very hot out there in Croke Park today, and there wasn't much air to be got, and it was a fierce, tough game, you know, and they always are, so we got the win, and that's what we wanted to do.
That half-back line and the midfield seemed to mop up so much ball though today.
I think a lot of credit has to go to our forwards today, because they hooked and blocked, and not much ball good ball came back into the back. So I think our forwards, even when they're not scoring, they deserve a lot of credit for the amount of work they put in for the team, because it's fierce important, and we do notice it back in the backs.
Yeah, it must be very satisfactory when you do win the ball and you get it up there, that you know something is going to be done with it.
Yeah, well, you never know, I suppose, but it does give you a lot of heart there when they're not letting the Galway backs out easy with it. So we're delighted with the way they performed today, and it was very, very well done.
Okay, seal of approval for the Kilkenny forwards from Tommy there. Lots more to come on the programme, including camogie and yesterday's hurling qualifiers. Stay with us. Now, a reminder about next week's live GA action here on RTE Television. On Saturday, it's Galway against Wexford in round 2 of the All-Ireland football qualifiers, as well as Dublin's meeting with Clare in the hurling qualifiers. Join us from 1:40 on RTE 2. Then on Sunday, a mouth-watering live doubleheader as Meath face Louth in the Leinster Senior Football Final, and Cork take on Waterford in the much-anticipated Munster Senior Hurling Final. The programme will also include the draw for the next round of the football and hurling qualifiers, so you can join Michael and the team from 1:30 on RTE2. Well, there's plenty of other action for us to catch up on from the weekend. In the hurling qualifiers, we had Tip versus Wexford and Antrim versus Carlow. With the finals of the Christie Ring, Nicky Rackard and Laurie Marr Cups in Croke Park, and the clash of Cork and Galway in the Gala Camogie Championship.
It may be slightly